This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Cabo Jim Schaller.
Welcome, good neighbors, to episode number 233 of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have good neighbor Greg Langenhagen from the Florida Repertory Theater. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jim. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you on and learn a little bit about what you do. So without further ado, let's jump right in. And why don't you share a little bit about what you do over at the theater?
Very happy to. So I am the producing artistic director at Florida Repertory Theater here in Fort Myers, Florida, in downtown, part of the Downtown River District. And as the producing artistic director, I'm responsible for many things. I share the executive leadership with our executive director, but my biggest responsibility is for pretty much everything that happens on our stages, all of the programming, if you will, for our professional season, for our educational programming, and also our outreach.
Very nice, very nice. So let's back up your story a little bit. How did you get involved in all of this?
Well, I came to this from an actor's perspective. I was a professional actor for many years, lived in New York City, and had been coming down to Florida and traveling other parts of the country, working in what's called regional theater. And that's what Florida Repertory Theater is. It's a professional regional theater. And I can tell you, how I got involved in the whole theater stuff to begin with. I could take you all the way back, and
let's go back and do that. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Honestly, Jim, but this is a question I've thought about before and have been asked. It really started when I was about 4 years old. My mother sat my sister and I down in front of a puppet show at the local mall back up in Pennsylvania. And I never forgot it. I was so mesmerized by it that I kind of carried that with me through my whole life into my adulthood. I spent most of my childhood in sports. My brothers and I were all active in several different sports and things like that. But I never lost that sort of twinkle in my eye for what it would be like to be on stage and how that can be mesmerizing to an audience member, because I was just mesmerized by it. So I came up to it through acting. I left the business for a while as a professional actor to run a business that my wife and I purchased from my father-in-law. We were in the television production business for several years and marketing business. And so I got a really strong business background working in that, owning and operating that business for many years. And then the position became available at Florida Rep, and where I had, basically been an ensemble member and still am an ensemble member for many years. And it was a position was available, and I decided to go for it. And lo and behold, here I am 6 years later as the producing artistic director. But I started with the theater company back in 1998 when it first came to life, as it were.
Incredible. That's an incredible journey there. So talk about that journey a little bit as far as challenges, whether personally or professionally. There's something we all kind of go through that we can kind of look back at later and say, you know what, I made it through that. I'm in a better place now. How about you?
Oh, Jim, for sure. In looking at this, this particular position and looking at Florida Repertory Theater, I can probably tell a similar story that many folks I'm sure you talk to is when the pandemic hit. The venues around the country, everywhere from concert arenas, sporting events, any type of event, right, where people gather in large groups, that was pretty much was gone, right, for several, almost 2 years actually. So riding that out and making it through that time was really trying. That was really trying. And I will say this, we have an amazing team here at Florida Rep, and no one does these things alone. There really is no I, me, mine in this on this side of show business anyway.
Right.
But I'm so grateful that I had a lot of great people around me, and we were able to make it through that. And then, as you probably know, no sooner after, the pandemic, we got slammed with a Cat 5 hurricane called Ian, which basically drenched and put downtown Fort Myers, where we're located, underwater, and our facilities were all underwater. So we had to clean up that mess. And there again, great team came forward, and we were able to make a lot of things happen, and we're still here. We're still here. So I for the grace of God and the great people around us, I couldn't be more grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah, great. It's a wonderful community, wonderful support, and people around it as well. So let's talk about myths or misconceptions surrounding what you do that we can kind of maybe clear up for our listeners today.
That's a great one too. And there's one that comes up a lot. So, when we first started, when Florida Rep was first born in 1998, there weren't a lot of other professional theater companies or theater companies at all in the area. And there still aren't very many professional theater companies, but there are a lot of what we call community theaters. And some folks think that we're a community theater, just like, the regular, community theater that you might see in your neighborhood. But the big difference is that in community theaters, and don't get me wrong, you can see I've seen lots of great art and great theater in community theaters. But in a community theater, those are folks who are doing it for fun. These are folks who after work rehearse, in the evenings and put on a play and whatnot. What we do is we're a professional regional theater. The people that we hire actually to perform on our stages, they're pros, just like the people who direct are professionals, the people who design our plays, sets, costumes, etc. And those that build those sets and those costumes, they're all professionals. And but back to, speaking about the talent on the stages, these are folks who do it for a living. They've often have had years of training to be able to be a stage performer, stage actor. And many of them have Broadway credits. We go to New York City twice a year to audition talent for our season. We're an ensemble-based organization, so we have folks that are within our ensemble, both not just actors, but all artists, scenic designers, as I said, lighting designers, costume designers, etc., directors. But we go and look for talent in New York, and we get some of the best talent in the country. These are folks who, that's what they do for a living. So we want people to know that, hey, when you come to Florida Rep, you should expect to see, as it's been
Right.
Wall Street Journal, Broadway quality, because these are the same folks that you would see on the stages in New York City. And then the other, so I wanted to, make sure folks understood that we're a professional, we're a union theater company under the Actors Equity Union. And those are important things. When you have union actors and you have folks that are represented by talent agents and things like that, you're talking about a level of artistry and a level of artist that's a notch above, and everyone in the business understands that, and they know that as well. So there's that. And then the other thing that even some of our wonderful patrons and subscribers might not even be aware of is that we're a producing organization. We're not a presenting organization, which means that when you come to see a show and you see the costumes and you see the sets and you see the lights, all of that has been done in-house. That's all been, we build those sets right here. They're not touring shows that get put in and then lifted out. These are costumes that oftentimes are built from the bottom up, where we would fit someone the same way someone might fit, a tailor might fit someone for a suit. We would do the same thing. And so there's a lot of care, a lot of love, and great artistry that goes into to what we do as a producing organization. So those are the two biggest things, I think, is that, hey, we're a professional theater. These are folks who do it for a living and do it well. And just about everything you see on stage was handmade here by our in-house artisans.
I love it. It's that attention to detail that takes it a step above. So do you notice anything changing? Obviously, it's been almost 25 years now. Has it changing in the industry? Have things evolved?
Sure. Oh, sure. Well, one thing I can tell you for sure, Jim, is that things have become more expensive. It's funny because theater itself in so many ways hasn't really changed, since the Greeks. It's really we're still really telling stories. What has changed is the price to do it, to actually forth. So we've seen a little bit of that. We see around, not just here at Florida Rep, in fact, probably less so here than at other places. As I talk to my colleagues at that run theaters around the country, other regional theaters, professional theaters. there's been a little bit of a decline in attendance, because you see, since the pandemic, I think a lot of folks got out of the habit of going to the theater, and they forget what the joy is and really how powerful theater can be. The things that happen in a space, in a room, when you're seated next to your fellow man and fellow woman is very different than what you experience even in a movie theater when you do that, and certainly at home when you're watching Netflix, which, hey, I love Netflix. It's great, and I get it, but theater is a different experience, and I think that that's the reason why it's going to continue to be around, is because all you have to do is be touched the way your heart can be touched in a live presentation like that, so differently than if you're seeing something on a screen. And once that happens, I think people are bitten. You're bitten by the bug. But certainly the changes that we've seen are, folks right now, I think, are more interested in escapist style pieces where they can get away from the news. I mean, Lord knows we have so much, inundated with so much rhetoric and so much editorializing about with this opinion and that opinion, and people hurting each other on social platforms and things like that folks, I think, generally right now just want to kind of escape from all that and sort of adhere to something a little bit high, a little higher order, which can be completely just fun, just escapist style fun. So yeah, those are the two things those are the trends I'm seeing right now.
And we need outlets like that to get away from what you had mentioned as well too. So
absolutely.
You mentioned you're from the Northeast originally. What remind me, what brought you down to Southwest Florida?
So I was living in New York City, and my predecessor here, Bob Cassiopo, brought me down to be in a season at the Pirate Playhouse over on Sanibel. That was in 1997. And so I came down that year, and then I would come down subsequent years to perform in different plays and things like that, along with, again, traveling around the country to other theater companies and things like that. And really what happened is in 1999, I met in 97. We met briefly, but I started dating this woman in 99 named Liz Abbott, who lived here on Sanibel. And, we later became very serious, and then we got married, and 2 kids later, and now a daughter who's getting ready to go to college next year. That's really what it is. My life really became more about being here with Liz, and then of course with my family, than traveling around or being in New York City. So that's sort of how it all started, and it's kind of where we are right now.
I love it. So when you do get a moment of free time, obviously you do a lot of theater, but when you get a moment of free time, what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
Jim, this is a great question. It's kind of a trick question because I'm always working as a producing artistic director, and that's part of the joy too. I mean, it is a job that it's more of a vocation, I would say, than an occupation. You really have to love what you do, because it requires so much of your time if you plan to do it well. But no, I when I do get time, I mean, really my first order is to spend as much time as I can with my family, with my with my kids. I try to do that as much. My wife and my children. That's first and foremost. So it's like really any free time is to, hey, let's do something as a family, even if it's just hanging out and watching a movie together or something like that. I try to do that, but I do have hobbies too. I mean, I play guitar a little bit, and I used to do a lot of guitar collecting. I don't have so much time for that now, but buying and selling and maintaining guitars and things, that was always a lot of fun for me. And I would also say that one of the other things I really love to do is to fly fish for trout.
Wow. Interesting. See, then you're in a perfect spot to do it down here in Florida. We can do it year round. We love it. So is there one thing you wish our listeners knew about the theater that maybe they wouldn't be too familiar with?
It's so funny to me, Jim. I will run into people all the time on the street or in the arcade. So we're right under the large neon arcade sign on First Street in downtown. That's where we're located, and we're inside that hallway. A lot of folks don't even know we're here. And the big thing I would like to let folks know is like, hey, if you like theater, or you're thinking of even just trying to check out a theater in the area, I don't think you'll be disappointed. In fact, I think you'll really love what we have to offer for the reasons I mentioned earlier. We hire some of the greatest artists in the country to come down here and play with us in our different productions. You know, sometimes you'll see one or two in different productions, but we really do, and I think we do a very good job of seeking out the greatest talent, not just the greatest actors, although I think we are very fortunate in that we get some fantastic actors to come in, but also, as I mentioned earlier, some of the greatest scenic designers. These are artists too. Our sets, I mean, we're known for the beautiful sets that we put up in our two spaces. We have a 393 seat proscenium house, which is like a regular picture frame theater, as it were. And then we have a black box theater just down the hall where we do some very intimate, really, really beautiful pieces, along with some musical reviews. And we do a wide variety of work. That's part of our mission. So, you know, if you come to Florida Rep, or if you subscribe to Florida Rep, which is a great deal, you get a great deal when you subscribe, all kinds of perks and huge discounts up to almost 60% off the regular ticket price, which is really a great savings. You'll see great work. You'll see work of great value, and you'll see great artists doing great work at Florida Rep on dramas, comedies, musicals, new works, new plays, classics. We do it all here. And we also have a huge education program. We do a massive, our summer intensives for our students in the area are second to none. You know, there are professionals involved in all of that, and our conservatory programs. So, you know, we're really a great I think a really excellent addition to the community for an area, Jim, this size, which obviously we're growing. We continue to grow, but to have a theater company of this quality in an area this small, you would need to be in Chicago to go to like the Goodman Theater or the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, the Walnut Street Theater in Philadelphia. You know, this is the type of theater, this is the quality of theater that we're talking about when we're talking about Florida Rep.
Very good, very good. How would our listeners go about finding you if they wanted to check out a show or learn more?
Fantastic. Yeah. So we're really easy to find. If you just go to www.florida, spelled out, Florida Rep, REP.org, that'll take you to our website, www.floridarep.org. And we can also be reached through our box office, which we can answer questions there. And that's 239-332-4488. It's 239-332-4488. And we are into our season for subscribers. We've just opened up subscription packages. Next season, we've got great shows running right now. Great play called Boca, another called Bloomsday. We've got a great musical coming up called Shout. The Mod musical features some of the greatest female artists from the 60s. And then we end our season with a real, I call it a scorcher. It's a sexy piece called Venus. Yeah. But next season, we've got Always Patsy Cline, Little Shop of Horrors, Tuesdays with Maury, The Play That Goes Wrong. Great titles and just great. The Rat Pack Lounge next season.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of great titles that are geared really, Jim. They're geared for this population. They're geared for our folks here in Southwest Florida. We build it all for the folks here in Southwest Florida.
Very good. I'm going to have to come and check it out for sure. But Greg, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being such a good neighbor. And we hope to see you out in the community here soon.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Great to be with you.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpestero.com. That's gnpestero.com. Or call 239-296-2621.